This is not a yacht. This is a $500 million kingdom drifting across international waters. A floating empire with no borders, no taxes, no oversight. A world that belongs to one person and one person only. People look at this and see luxury. The elite look at it and see freedom. Freedom from states, from laws, from the noise of 7 billion people. What if you never had to live inside a country again? What if your wealth didn't sit inside a system, but sailed far beyond it? What if your home wasn't an address, but a moving jurisdiction? This isn't a boat tour. This is a glimpse into the lifestyle of people who don't buy real estate, they buy movable nations. Because a vessel like this isn't about comfort. It's about escape velocity from everything that limits ordinary people. Welcome to the floating palaces of the modern elite. Once, power lived on land, on mountaintops, behind stone walls, inside castles that were built to last forever. And that was their flaw. A fortress that doesn't move can be found, mapped, surrounded, waited out. History is full of fallen castles for this exact reason. Today's elite learned the lesson. They didn't build higher walls, they removed the ground beneath them. Modern power doesn't defend territory, it abandons it. So the castle evolved, not into something bigger, but into something that never stays. Steel instead of stone, oceans instead of borders, coordinates instead of addresses. A yacht at this level isn't a home, it's a moving perimeter. A space that exists just long enough to serve its purpose, then disappears. No flags, no guided tours, no permanence. Just one rule that survived every empire. Access is not a right, it's a privilege. And only a microscopic circle ever crosses that line. This is the moment power stopped living somewhere and started living away. Let's talk about the vessels themselves. Not because they're impressive, but because they reveal a mindset. History supreme. An alleged $4.8 billion myth wrapped in gold and platinum. Whether it exists or not doesn't matter. The story alone tells you everything. The elite operate on a level where even rumors cost billions. Eclipse, around $1.5 billion. Roman Abramovich, 2 helipads, missile defense, a submarine. This is not transportation, it's an escape plan. Azam, nearly $600 million, belonging to UAE royalty. Longer than many naval ships. A floating district, not a yacht. Dilbar, roughly $800 million. The largest interior volume of any private yacht in history. Built not for visibility, but for containment. Flying Fox, rentable for up to $5 million a day. A hotel that sails away before anyone can ask the wrong questions. These aren't vessels, these are moving strongholds, engineered to keep their owners untouchable. Most people see a yacht and imagine sunlight, champagne, summer. A billionaire sees a yacht and imagines something else entirely. Jurisdictional distance. A $500 million yacht is a strategic asset, a tool to live outside the gravitational pull of any government. Tax architecture. Most of these yachts are registered in places like the Cayman Islands, Malta, or the Isle of Man. Not for the scenery, for the loopholes. No VAT, minimal reporting, regulations written in pencil instead of stone. It isn't evasion, it's design. Security beyond national borders. When your secrets are worth more than your assets, you build protection into the vessel itself. Drone jammers, submarine detectors, private security teams rivaling small governments. Invisible negotiations. The biggest deals of the century will never appear in a boardroom calendar. They happen at sea, because international waters have no press, no archives, and no subpoena power. discretion as a service. Who boards? Who leaves? Who shakes hands on the deck at sunset? None of it becomes public record. The ocean doesn't ask questions, and the ocean doesn't testify. At a certain level of wealth, ownership stops being the goal. Control becomes the priority. On land, everything is fixed. Addresses are known. Properties are mapped. Assets are registered. Patterns are trackable. Land creates visibility. Invisibility creates vulnerability. A mansion can be photographed. A penthouse can be monitored. A private island can be surrounded. A bunker can become a cage. The more static your life is, the easier it is to contain. That's the paradox of luxury on land. The bigger the property, the smaller your freedom. And the ultra-rich understand this better than anyone. So they stopped building bigger homes. They started building exits. A yacht doesn't exist at an address. It exists at a coordinate. And coordinates change. Today you're anchored near Monaco. Tomorrow you're in the Aegean. Next week you're nowhere public records can easily follow. No city hall, no zoning laws, no neighbors with drones, no journalists parked outside your gate, just movement. This is why yachts replace palaces, because power today doesn't want walls, it wants distance. Distance from regulation, distance from outrage cycles, distance from social pressure, distance from accountability. When a billionaire lives on land, he participates. When he lives at sea, he opts out. That's the real luxury. Not the marble floors, not the infinity pools, not the helipads. The ability to disengage from the system entirely. And here's the part nobody talks about. Yachts don't just move physically, they move legally. Each mile offshore strips away layers of obligation. Taxes weaken, regulations blur, oversight fades. The farther you are from land, the more optional the rules become. This isn't accidental. This is engineered mobility. A yacht is not a vacation. It's a pressure release valve. When markets shake, when protests rise, when governments wobble, when headlines turn hostile, the yacht doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It doesn't defend. It leaves. And that's why the truly powerful don't ask, "Where do I live?" They ask, "How fast can I disappear?" These yachts are not social spaces. They are filters. Every square meter is designed around one idea. Only the right people get close. And right doesn't mean famous. It doesn't mean rich. It doesn't mean influential on paper. It means useful. Nobody stumbles onto a deck like this. Nobody just drops by. Access is curated with surgical precision. Before anyone steps on board, they've already been evaluated. Not by security alone, but by relevance. Who can they connect you to? What door do they open? What information do they carry? What silence can they keep? That's the currency. This is why the guest list looks strange from the outside. You won't see crowds. You won't see parties the way Instagram imagines them. You won't see chaos. You'll see small groups, controlled interactions, time-boxed meetings disguised as leisure. A breakfast that looks casual, a sunset drink that isn't, a chance encounter that was planned months in advance. And what happens on board never leaks by accident. These vessels are designed to kill transparency. No phones in certain rooms, signal-blocking architecture, rotating security teams, NDAs that never appear on paper, staff trained not to hear, not to remember, not to exist. This isn't paranoia, this is operational discipline. Because what happens here isn't entertainment, it's alignment. Deals don't get signed on yachts, they get pre-decided. The yacht isn't where contracts are written, it's where outcomes are agreed upon before paperwork ever touches land. This is where narratives are shaped before they reach the public, where investments move before markets react, where political directions soften before laws change. On land, power has to pretend. It needs optics. It needs justification. It needs explanations. At sea, power doesn't perform, it synchronizes. And that's the most dangerous part. Because nothing about this looks dramatic. There are no raised voices, no urgency, no spectacle. Just quiet consensus among people who don't need permission to act. By the time the world notices the effects, the decision was made weeks ago, floating silently beyond jurisdiction. This is why the yacht matters. Not because of what you see, but because of what you never will. Yachts of this magnitude aren't symbols of wealth. They're symbols of absence, from regulation, from scrutiny, from the obligations the rest of the world must obey. The most important deals of the decade will not be made in Parliament or at a global summit. They will be made right here, 40 miles offshore, beyond jurisdiction, beyond visibility, beyond consequence. While you are navigating traffic, bills, deadlines, and headlines, somewhere out on the horizon, a floating kingdom is quietly changing the direction of the world. Not with noise, with privacy. Not with armies, with access. Not with flags, with the absence of them. This isn't conspiracy, this is the architecture of modern power. And if it still looks like a yacht to you, that means one thing: it's working exactly as intended. If this video made you think, if it showed you a world you always felt was real but no one ever dared to explain, then you're exactly where you need to be. Fake-off luxury isn't about admiration, it's about revelation. We uncover the systems the elite will never discuss and reveal what luxury really means behind the curtain. If you're ready to see more, subscribe, give it a like, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because in this world, those who know the rules play a completely different game.